What do you make of Kane and Son so far this campaign? Because we know what they can do, that's the thing. And why don't you think they're clicking into gear when they're wearing the Tottenham jersey this season?
I think we obviously understand Harry Kane's position. We've talked about it so much on the show, the constant link of him leaving the football club, wanting to go. That uncertainty certainly didn't help. New manager coming in, etc. But when the team's set up differently, you're not creating the chances. A Harry Kane isn't going to score. That's ultimately the problem. He's come deep. That's a big talking point. He's putting the distances we discussed at half-time. But him and Son need to find that sort of link. And Conte will be working with that because he realises how top these two players are. And ultimately we're talking about those two, and that's the respect they've got because they've been so good, the quality that they deliver, the goals that they're involved in, obviously assisting each other as well. So yeah, they haven't been as good as you would have expected these two to be. The team's obviously got something to say for it, but at times the two individuals have got to say, what can we do better when the side are not doing as well as what you'd expect? Can we make the difference? Can we step in? Can we do a few different things? Can we affect the dressing room as well? So, yeah, certainly should have done a little bit better than they have.
Just for the both of you, I want to ask a question. I'm going to start with you, Brownie. When you were at any of your clubs and the star striker wasn't knocking the goals in, I mean, how was the mood for the striker themselves? Because it seems that they're very, not to say ego-driven, but if they're in a good mood. Selfish is the word. Selfish. But yeah, selfish, I guess you could say. So, I mean, how was it dealt with internally? How were the other players reacting? I mean, who was it, first and foremost?
Well, I think you can see straight away when a striker's struggling, when they're suffering for form, they're not getting those goals. It affects them in training as well. They go out and get an extra bag of balls, do more practicing, more drills to try and get through it. But with Harry Kane, I mean, it's so difficult in that dressing room, isn't it, to question him when he goes away on international duty, keeps getting records for that, constant amount of goals and the tally that he's brought to the football club. So, listen, they won't be questioning him. They'll just want him to be as good as possible and get him through it. But it's a collective thing, isn't it? Let's be honest, they've changed the manager, uncertainty all the way through the summer. The need to find a system, a rhythm, an intensity. And that's what Conte is going to demand. And like we said, just going back to the Reguilón interview there, telling you how we've got to run more, we've got to do a certain pattern. And it's going to take time. And I think we've got to back him. It's a great manager. And I think now Spurs supporters realise that there's a chance of somebody turning it around. But again, it's going to be investment from Daniel Levy and the football club to give him the players because they still haven't got enough in that dressing room for Conte to get them right at the top of the Premier League.
If a striker's not scoring goals for fun, Robbo, as the keeper, did you get pulled into extra training as well to try and stop the shots?
No, that's what the young lads were there for. That's what the number 2 and number 3 goalkeepers were there for. They could stay out all afternoon and get pelted by the strikers. But they're a different breed, like goalkeepers. They thrive on goals. They're paid for goals. You know, when they're playing well, it comes naturally. And you can see Harry Kane. I don't think he's played well since 2 months before the Euros. I think he played well once or twice in the Euros. I think he's played well for England, but I don't think he's discovered his club form since well before the end of last season. And I think that will come. I still think the issue of the transfer in the summer is hanging over him, regardless of what people say, what he says.
Do you think they should sell him, Robbo? Do you think they should sell him, move on, and actually take the money and say, Kane's gone now and let's rebuild under Conte?
If he still wants to go, then yeah. I think they're missing opportunity in the summer. I don't think they're going to get 120 million for him again. You look at his form now, you look at his form for England's completely different. He's a different striker to the one that he was 6 months ago when we were talking about 120 million. They've missed the boat on selling him for that amount of money. If he still wants to go, then yeah, you know what it's like having a player in a dressing room that doesn't want to be there, wants to move on, has had his head turned. And, it's poisonous in the dressing room. Whether they mean it to be or not, it's not a good atmosphere in the dressing room. If that's the case, then he has to go. I still believe that Conte can get the best out of him. I think the relationship that him and Conte could have...
Do you think it's easier for Daniel Levy to sell him now, when he's got Conte? Do you think the fans will accept it more than they would have in the summer? I felt like he couldn't sell him in the summer. He was, I think the place was about to erupt.
I don't think they could have sold him in the summer because I don't think the right offers came in from the club that was touted to wanting to buy him. There was talk of different figures, but I don't think any of those figures ever materialised and a proper bid ever materialised for him. So I think he was let down on a lot of fronts. Tottenham certainly couldn't sell him when they went for the second, third, fourth, fifth choice of a manager. You can't employ a manager that was in the Championship 2 or 3 years ago and then sell your best player. What kind of direction does that show you in? I mean, Tottenham were two and a half seasons ago in the Champions League final There's only one way they've gone since then. It's backwards. They should have kept Pochettino. They should have invested heavily in the squad. They should have backed the manager. They should have put money into the squad. The stadium's the world's best. The training ground's the world's best, but it's not right on the pitch. They tried to cut corners again by employing Nuno Espirito Santo. That didn't work, and they've realised they have to get a world-class manager, and they now have to back him in January because the squad that he's got isn't good enough.
OK, Robert, this one's for you. I think the most high-profile example I can think of during your time would be Rio Ferdinand. I mean, he went out for an astronomical fee to Leeds. Wasn't it a British record at the time? And then he had a couple of great seasons. Of course, there was the Champions League run and all that. But then he went to the fierce rivals, which was Manchester United. What was the dressing room like when he wanted to leave? Did he make it known? Did the players support him? Is that how it's going to be at Tottenham now? Players supporting someone wanting to leave, not wanting to leave, being completely understanding because maybe they're a mate?
I think it's different, the players' relationship in the dressing room. The Rio Ferdinand situation came about because that was the start of the Leeds United financial downfall. Rio was probably the crux, the tip of the iceberg. He had to go. And then the house of cards fell down behind that. But we didn't know at the time. You look at Harry Kane, I think the only way that his situation can be resolved is either he goes or he signs a new contract and he commits himself to Spurs. I don't see there's any way, shape or form that he can keep plodding on the way that he does till the end of the season, because if he doesn't score, if he keeps playing averagely, if he doesn't play well, he doesn't score goals, people are going to say, oh, he's distracted, his mind's elsewhere. It's always going to be a topic of conversation. Unless he starts playing well, scoring goals, everyone's going to talk about that. He needs to either sign a new contract, commit himself to the club, say, look, believe in what Antonio Conte is doing. He's got a few results between now and January. Chairman's backed him in January. We've got some great players coming in January. I believe in what the club are doing now. They're looking forward. I want to stay here. Or, like Brownie said, he has to go and let the manager move on and rebuild the squad with money that he's got.